Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And this excellent Sunday is continuing, because here we've got a story about Nicola Sturgeon and her legacy. Her legacy now is in flames. It is burning, it is falling from the sky, ready to crash. Because she's failed spectacularly. She keeps making these pledges about child poverty. Oh, look how we've increased child payment, but it's not to the level at which you promised. Oh, look how we introduced the baby boxes, which have proved to be very, very useless, and go to people, especially rich people, who don't want them or need them. And they go to poor people who go, even they wouldn't want it. It's rubbish. You have a box in which you can lay a baby to sleep. Really, really. It's a stupid idea, but it was one that was done in order to make you appear human. A woman who does not have children, who will never have children, and who constantly strives to be seen as the woman who cares for children. It's a convenient vehicle to show your humanity. But you lack humanity, Nicola Sturgeon. You are a psychopath, I think. But not only that, not only have all these things failed, you promised that you would work hard and push for the ending of child poverty, which seems fair considering you've caused so much of it. And yet you've hardly ever been seen in Parliament. So what actually are you doing for your parliamentary salary? A woman who doesn't actually turn up shouldn't actually be paid, don't you think? We'll take a look at this to see why the invisible woman of Scottish politics has zero credibility when it comes to her child poverty legacy. Here goes. So, Nicola Sturgeon child poverty legacy shattered, as SNP government have undertaken no analysis of her impact. Well, her impact is to have increased child poverty over her entire reign of error as the First Minister of Scotland. The former First Minister boasted that some of her legacies as leader of the Scottish Government were to help children, like the Scottish Child Payment and the Baby Box, and yet they have not. They have done no such thing. And if you were serious, of course, about child poverty, you would have done more to actually assist child poverty, build the economy, create opportunity, improve schooling. And yet, under your time, the economy crashes. Schools go out of the top 10 of world education, down to be beaten at this point by some third world countries. The opportunities are removed. The opportunities of education, opportunities to work are removed. And people are generally in a much, much worse position than they would have been otherwise. That's your true legacy. You've removed the futures from so many children. So don't cut the cod when you sit there and fake cry, oh, think of the children, think of the children. You only ever thought of Nicola Sturgeon. The Scottish Government has admitted it has undertaken no analysis of Nicola Sturgeon's impact on child poverty since she quit her role. The long-time occupant of Bute House officially left office on March the 28th, 2023, and her reputation has been spoiled since then. Oh boy, has it. She was arrested by cops investigating the SNP's finances in June, admitted deleting her COVID WhatsApps before they could be handed over to the COVID inquiry. Her appearances of Holyrood have been few and far between, despite her promising to be an active backbencher. And that's only the least of it, of course. They are currently investigating all the Scottish care home deaths, for which she would undoubtedly be implicated should they decide to prosecute. You have that. There are so many other things that she's involved with. I happen to know that there is one story that hasn't broken yet. I can't break it. I'm not going to break it. But it does involve Nicola Sturgeon, and it is absolutely astounding. And I wish, but I can't. No evidence yet, and I don't want to open. Also, technically not my story, someone else's story, and it's up to him to break it. Once he does, I'll certainly be commenting on it, but he needs more information at this point. But it is mind-blowing. So there is a lot of stuff that she is involved in. A lot of it is shady, to say the least, if not downright, perhaps, allegedly, illegal. And so, yes, her legacy is in tatters. She has got a good legacy. It's just one of failure and of criminality and of corruption and of all the bad things, crawling insect type things. During her post-resignation media appearances, she boasted about some of her biggest achievements in Parliament being related to helping kids. The flagship baby box and the Scottish child payment were the two she detailed as the most important to her, and failed on both. She also went on about anti-alcohol. She's a very joyless woman. Doesn't like the idea of people having a drink and a laugh. And she's done all she can to try and destroy the Scottish alcohol industry. The former First Minister also repeatedly said she wanted her record in office to be judged on education. Oh, we're certainly judging it on education, Nicola. You've failed. You've been weighed, you've been measured, and you've been found wanting. Education now is a joke. And only yesterday, Mason, I did the short on this yesterday, John Mason saying that teachers were a luxury item. Unbelievable, isn't it? She was also, she said, committed to alleviating child poverty and improving the lives of care-experienced young people. When she left office, she claimed she'd be challenging the new administration to continue to support kids. And maybe she would have, if ever she turned up. But she never does. She likes to sit at home all day on her fat ministerial salary. Well, not ministerial salary, what's the word? MSP salary. But of course she'll get a full First Minister pension when the time comes. Thank you very much. Money for nothing for the rest of her life. She can buy herself another camper van. Maybe travel around Scotland and ask people what they think of her. She won't like the answers. But the Scottish Daily Express can reveal that the Scottish Government have undertaken no analysis about the impact of her legacy on child poverty. We asked for all briefings prepared for the Ministers, notes written and any analysis done by or for the Scottish Government regarding Nicola Sturgeon's impact on child poverty in Scotland, written between the 1st of April 2023 and December 21st, when the Parliament broke. However, officials wrote back to say, in this instance, the Scottish Government does not have the information you requested. The reason why we don't have the information is that no briefings, notes or analysis regarding Nicola Sturgeon's impact on child poverty were produced between the dates you specified in your request. And look at her there, snarling, isn't it? So honestly, it's like sitting out, it sits there guarding. Get away. I just loathe that creature. We also asked for any correspondence the former First Minister had with the SNP executive about the same issue since she resigned, but we were told no correspondence regarding child poverty was received from or sent to Nicola Sturgeon between the dates you specified in your request. That's because she doesn't actually care. Once she'd gone, it's like, well, whatever. I've got to say these things because I don't want to appear like a heartless, soulless creature filled with crawling maggots of hate and destruction. Even though I feel that that's more or less what she is, she has to pretend to be human. And so, oh, let's think of the children. Oh, yes, that's a convenient one. That makes me look like I've actually got a soul. But she hasn't. She's got a swinging brick. Miss Sturgeon was challenged on her record during her last FMQs before being replaced by Humza Yousaf and pointed to her policies as her record. That's not something you should be pointing at, Nicola Sturgeon. You've failed. It included the Scottish Child Payment, which was launched in February 21 and is paid at $25 per week per child to low-income families with children under 6. So an extremely small cohort. The Scottish Government has estimated the payment could reduce child poverty after housing costs by 5 percentage points by 23-24. As of December 22, is estimated 184,000 children in Scotland were receiving the child payment. Perhaps increasing the economy, increasing opportunities for growth, for jobs, and cutting the tax would lift a lot more people out of poverty, and especially children, and especially the children of alcoholics who having to pay even more to get their fix that they're going to pay, even at the expense of their own children going hungry. Well done, Nicola Sturgeon. Joined up thinking from a woman who's never had children and doesn't understand what the problems are. Ms Sturgeon cited poverty reduction as a key government policy. The other thing, sorry, I'm going to go on a tangent here. I'm going to suggest that politicians who don't have children, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with not having children. Don't get me wrong on that. Some people are unlucky. They're unblessed. Whatever. But children are a blessing. They're not a divine right. And should you be lucky enough and have them, very well done. And if you don't, it's unfortunate, unless you don't actually want them, in which case that's active and that's fine. But if it's someone who wants children and somehow doesn't, it's very unfortunate, and I do feel sorry for you. Absolutely do. But that's not the point of what I'm making. The point I'm making here is politicians who don't have children don't have a vested interest in the future, because the universe ends when they die. They've got nothing to leave. They've got no existence of being. They don't have those children, and so therefore, what does it matter? The world can burn after they go. They don't care, and that's what happened. That's why so many world leaders don't have children. I mean, you have, not that she's a world leader, but you know, Nicola Sturgeon, Theresa May, no kids. Angela Merkel, no kids. They're ruthless because they can afford to be. They can afford to let the world burn. Never trust a politician who doesn't have children. Anyway, getting back. Ms Sturgeon cited poverty reduction as the key government policy, but numbers published on the day of her leaving office showed that 1 in 4 children remained in poverty, while persistent deprivation is on the rise. The figure has fluctuated over the past few years, but the proportion was exactly the same between 2007 and 2010, meaning one of her core promises to reduce this was missed. Are we surprised? Is anyone surprised? Former Children's Commissioner Bruce Adamson was also scathing in his criticism of the ex-First Minister, as he stated last May that she absolutely failed to deliver for young children. He pointed to examples of SNP ministers of not doing enough to alleviate child poverty. They're the ones causing it. In her final speech as FM, Sturgeon pointed to policies like the Scottish Child Policy and said, "I'm proud of my record of government that I've led some of the toughest times in Scotland has faced in recent history." Yes, because of your policies. That's why Scotland was suffering. But ultimately, the only people who will cast a verdict on my record of my future government are the people of Scotland. They have, and they've given it a huge, steaming turd. Talking of which, I present Exhibit A. Coming up. Absolutely, the very, very last thing Nicola Sturgeon needs people to be doing is to be comparing her record, looking at her record, judging her on her record, because her record is not good. It is one of failure. It is one of absolute terrible evil. The things she's done has made life infinitely worse for individual people, and she has created division and hatred across Scottish society. It is no longer adequate to disagree with other people. Under Nicola Sturgeon, she turned disagreement into hate. You must hate the opposition. You must hate unionists if you're in the SNP. You can't just disagree with them and then get on with friendly terms with other aspects of your life. You must hate them at a visceral level. And that's what she's created. And that's what we judge her on. Not, oh, look at me, a psychopathic, childless woman who has no vested interest in the future. But I feel for the little children. No, judge her on what she is. A hate-filled bag of absolute shit who has destroyed the very essence of Scottish culture, who's created division, who's created hate. It's a repairable job, but it requires a good leader, and you'll never get one of them in the SNP. The SNP needs to disband. And they will. They will, because they're going to run out of money. They're on the edge, and they will go bankrupt. Sooner rather than later, though, eh? Anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you very much for coming up, for watching. I'll finish the video here. We'll look forward to the next one. She is... I just can't go around bad and how much I hate her. Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.